Hello, this is Colt, and this video is to explain Intrepid Control Systems reflash or over-the-air reflash capability with Intrepid hardware and software. The hardware that's typically used is a Nearby Ion, Nearby Plasma, or ValueCAN RF. And the software to configure everything is Vehicle Spy 3 with the remote software on a server that's called Wireless Nearby. The first thing that's necessary to reflash an ECU are the actual reflash files themselves. This is the ECU software, the ECU configuration files, or the ECU calibration files as a complete set. So what's necessary is the files themselves and the ability to understand the files, so to read them and to process the information that's inside of them. So the files themselves are typically hex files, S19, archive files, and there's a variety of different formats that different OEMs use. Software that is typically used to read the files is either a Vehicle Spy with graphical panels and a C-code interface that can be customized per user or per customer, or customers themselves create graphical user interfaces using C#, C++, Visual Basic, Python, and so forth. So the first step of the process is to understand the files, process them in a way that we can take the data inside of the ECU files and put them inside of a binary file and a text configuration file. So the binary file that is used typically contains the binary data that gets downloaded into the ECU. That could be calibration data, the actual software compiled for each ECU, and we put all of the ECU's information inside of a single file. And the text configuration file contains information about where each ECU's binary data is and what the binary data is. Also, ECU's address information, which protocol each ECU uses, and so forth. So just to review, ECU flash files get converted into a binary file, and a text configuration file that's created describes the ECU's addresses, flash sequence information, as well as the location of where each ECU's data exists inside of the binary file. And then these two files then can be read with the scripting environment that we have called function blocks. And function blocks is a way within Vehicle Spy to script CAN commands, diagnostic commands, ISO 14229 commands, for example, and create a sequence of commands. And some of the function blocks include the ability to read files, including text files and binary files. And I'll describe that a little more detail in just a minute. So the process is take the ECU files, process them in a way that we can get a text file and a binary file, and then create sequence scripts that describe what you want to do with the ECU. For example, you could read diagnostic information first, store that diagnostic information, reflash the ECU, and then reflash in the diagnostic information. Any sequence of anything that you want to do on diagnostics is possible with the function block scripting environment on a user by user or ECU by ECU basis. We also have some customers that have multiple ECU data inside of the binary file, for example, for different versions of a radio that's in a car. And then the flash sequence will read the part number of the hardware to know which ECU flash file to download into the specific ECU that's in the vehicle based on the vehicle's options. All of that's possible in the scripting environment within Vehicle Spy. And then once you have the script written and the text files, binary files, we can compile all of this into a single file. It's just a one-button click, and we can create a VS3-zip or a Wi-Fi file. This single file then can be downloaded over USB into an Ion and then run standalone, or optionally with the Wireless Nearby software, we can send this file to an Ion remotely and run it that way. The advantages of this system are that you can use the Vehicle Spy software while connected to an Ion live with the bus to debug scripts, for example. So it would be easy to single step through these scripts, find out what's working, what's not working, and then it runs on the PC in the function blocks in the debug environment. And then once you have everything debugged and working properly as you expect, the same exact file then with one button push can be created. We can create a Wi-Fi or VS3 zip file that then can be downloaded either to run standalone, downloaded over USB, or we can send that file over the air through our wireless NEOI software. So hopefully that's a good description of the entire process. And the next thing I want to do is actually show you a couple things inside of Vehicle Spy that enables this. This is the Vehicle Spy script that we've written for a customer. And in this script we have the first part of the script is called ECU Flash. And what happens here is we just go through this sequence of commands. And one of the first things that happen in the script is we read data. We read data, and the read data command within the scripting environment reads data from, in this case, a text file. And this is the text configuration file. And I can show the text configuration file here. And we read in information from the text configuration file. Part of the information we read in is what is the ECU address, what CAN ARB-ID should we be using for this ECU, and here we set the ARB-IDs for all the commands that we're going to use to reflash the ECU. For example, security, access, request download, download data, interprogramming mode. All of these messages or diagnostic commands get their arbitration ID or ECU address set. First part of the script. Then we read from the text file what hardware part number should we be talking to with this ECU. And if the hardware part number does not match the flash file, then we will not flash the ECU. Then we move down and we call another script, and the other script will, for example, here perform security access so that we can have the ability to reflash the ECU. And that's this script here, again, which can be customized per customer, per ECU. And after we do the security access properly, the next step is to erase the ECU. If I can find where the erase command is, right here. Erase sectors. After the ECU has been erased, then we can start to download files. And in the download file function block, I wanted to show another special function block that we have called load message data. Load message data will take a diagnostic message, an ISO 15765-2 message, a CAN message, and load data into it. So here we say, from this binary file, let's load in data of this length starting at this offset into the file. And this will fill in the CAN message with the binary data from the binary file, and then when we use another command called transmit, it'll transmit that data to the ECU. So this is typically used in a download data command. And important to understand is that these messages can be longer than 8 bytes. They're ISO 15765-2 transactions, and the ISO communication happens automatically. This means we can download an entire block of any size up to the maximum of 4,095 bytes, and makes the scripting environment fairly easy to use. When we go online with Vehicle Spy, we can step through these scripts, we can stop them, look at them, debug them, and then once it's working in the PC environment, then it's a simple button push to compile the script. And if I had hardware connected, I could just press send to send it remotely, or press a button called export Wi-Fi file. And that's the process. So I hope this video gave you a basic understanding of some of the process that goes through to create an over-the-air or standalone reflash sequence. It's fully customizable per customer, and we look forward to working with you in the near future. Thank you for your time.